Hey folks, it is Thursday, February 3rd, and here's what we're doing today. So the first thing you want to do, because we're doing peer review today, is to just check that everyone in your group has uploaded their draft. So here's a link to your folders. Go ahead and check that out. If they haven't, the first thing you want to do is just go ahead and send them a gentle message on Slack just to sort of check in. And if they don't respond after, 10, 15 minutes, just give me, text me or something. So the next thing you're going to do to start the peer review process is to first read your peers' reflection posts in Slack so that you have an idea of what you're looking at in terms of the responses your peers want. And then I want you to take a moment to find your flow in terms of who's reading what first so that there's no bottleneck. So I've kind of created a workflow for your group. If there is somebody who hasn't uploaded their paper during class, just skip over them in the workflow. These things happen. And then from there, you're going to take part in peer review by doing a few things. So when you're in the paper itself, I want you to highlight aspects of your peers' writing that you really appreciate. Just be like, hey, this is what I think is cool about that, because that way it's just sort of this nice way to reflect back what we think are our peers' strengths. Also flag moments where you feel like your peers could use a concrete example. You're going to need some of those. So if they're not mentioning a specific example of like a moment, like if they're talking about something really generally and they don't provide a specific example of how the cultural artifact that they're talking about, does that thing. So if they're talking about how, masculinity is represented in 1980s He-Man, right? Like give an example from like a particular memorable part of the cartoon series or whatever, right? You also want to emphasize things that seem confusing, right? Or call attention to moments where your peers are not doing APA citation correctly. Either they've missed a page number or they're referencing something that is from the Tobin piece, but they're not actually including in-text citations. Flag those moments for them. So that's just all in the comments. So like actually highlighting that stuff and commenting, okay? Then from there, you're going to skip down to the bottom of their paper and then answer the questions in the peer review form, depending on your peer review form is color coded, so each one of you will have like a different color that your responses are in. So just sort of figure out what that looks like for you, right? Just type in your color, right? And then once you've done that, the last thing you're going to do is you're going to hop back over to Slack and you are going to find the comment that your peer, whoever's paper you just read, you're going to find their comment in Slack. And then you're just going to sort of debrief and be like, hey, like I just read your paper. Here are the things that I think are working well. And here's like my biggest takeaway in terms of things that you could fix that would make a huge improvement, right? That way you're just sort of debriefing, because sometimes we think we're being clear in our comments on the paper, but we're not. And also it's just a nice way to humanize those comments, because I think a lot of us, and I'm saying this like even I get like defensive when people are like, oh, you need to fix this in your writing. I'm like, no, right? So just sort of, it's a nice sort of friendly way to get that accomplished, okay? And then for homework, all you are doing is finish responding to your peers' papers. So you may not get through all of them in class, but that's okay because it's for homework. And if one of your peers is like a latecomer and they post their paper later in the day, just check. And then if they have it uploaded and you haven't read it, just go ahead and respond to that peer's feedback. Although don't be that peer, by the way, that like just always uploads stuff late, because that kind of stinks for your peers. So I get like sometimes it happens, but just make sure it's not a habit. So that's it. That's what we're doing in class today. And that is what is for homework. All right.